friends! Today we are reviewing Season 1, Episode 1 of Love on the Spectrum US, so please, stick around. Hi friends, my name is Claire and this is my channel, Woodshed Theory. Here, I make content about what it is like to live as an adult on the autism spectrum and whatever else feels good to me. So if that sounds good to you, or if you're feeling particularly gracious today, and I hope that you are, please go ahead and click the subscribe button, ring the bell. I almost forgot to mention that I put out videos 3 times a week. Click the like, click the like. The video interactions actually really help me, so thank you. Today is a big day. Today is the day that Love on the Spectrum US was launched on Netflix, and I have decided to review every episode. So we'll see how that goes. I move forward with great trepidation. I guess we'll see what happens. I did watch season 1 and 2 of Love on the Spectrum in Australia. There were some really great things and some really not so great things. I will say that I haven't done any research on the US version. I, before watching, didn't know who any of the participants were or what the series was going to be like. I wanted to be just as surprised as you. So without further ado, I'm going to go through the first episode of Love on the Spectrum. I wrote copious notes, which, autism. So I'll go through each participant and what happened with them in the episode. The first episode opens with the narrator talking about how romance and relationships for people on the spectrum can seem like an impossible dream. I don't know that I would have used the word impossible. Relationships are difficult for people who are on the spectrum, but I don't know that people feel like it's impossible. Maybe if you haven't found anyone and you're not having any luck with it, it can seem that way, but I just thought that the word impossible was a bit inflammatory. It's not the worst thing that they could have said. The idea, I guess, was to show people that people on the spectrum struggle to have relationships, and that's true. The first person that we meet in the series is Dani. She's 26, and she lives in LA with her aunt and uncle. She is, first of all, so pretty and so smart, so funny. So I was very excited to see that they had Dani on the series. She talks about how she's desperate for love, and immediately her aunt and uncle say, well, you're not desperate. I felt like this was just a difference in how Dani was using the word desperate. I think maybe a better term would have been that she is eagerly seeking love. She really wants to have it. That doesn't mean she's a desperate person. But I thought it highlighted how sometimes neurodiverse and neurotypical people are not on the same page with what they mean. She talked about what kind of things that she was looking for in a partner, one of them being financial security. This might sound weird to some people, but it is normal for autistic people not to work and have jobs. So I can understand being a person looking for someone who has some sort of financial stability and being worried about that for one's future. I totally get that. I don't think that she's saying, oh, I want to live off of somebody or be a gold digger. I think she's just concerned because it's obvious that she has established her own career and wants to find somebody who is equal in that. Speaking about career, she says that she's passionate about animation. She started an animation company to teach animation to young people with ASD when she was 14 years old. She has a bachelor's degree and an MBA. So I am really liking Dani at this point because I am not super into animation. I like watching anime, but I also have a bachelor and 2 master's degrees, and she does talk about what it's like to live as someone in the in-between where she doesn't feel like she fits in necessarily in the neurodiverse community or the neurotypical community, because she does have this extended education. And she does talk about what she wants in a partner when she goes out for a drink with her friend Devin, who's also ASD. And she feels like she wants somebody who can be a lover and then also a work partner to her. She's very passionate about what she does, which is typical in autism. She's also looking for someone who is clean, hygienic, and has no beard. And I thought that this was funny because almost every person who came onto the show said that they were looking for somebody who had good hygiene. I don't know if this is because people on the spectrum have sensory issues or because people on the spectrum have issues with hygiene. That's a really good question. I'm not sure, but it does seem to be important to us that people are clean. And the next time we see her, she is going out on a date, and she looked so cute in that pink dress and black leather jacket. I just want her to know that was perfect date outfit, looked really good. Before she leaves on her date, she gets a shot of tequila from her mother, and I thought that that was really funny. It's fun to see Netflix showing somebody who has a drink on the spectrum. Not that they haven't shown people drinking before in the other seasons of Love on the Spectrum Australia, but I think that there's this thought that autistic people don't drink or smoke or do any of these things that neurotypical people do. And a lot of people who are neurotypical have a drink before they go on a date to calm their nerves. So I thought that that was a really cute moment with her mother. So then comes the big date. She goes on a date with Solomon. She falls in love with him right away. And they're obviously both super nervous on the date, but you can tell that Solomon's her type. She said before that she likes guys with a little bit of long hair. They both work with kids, trying to help them better their lives and communication skills. So it seems to be going well right off the bat. Solomon is great at conversation and asks her about her job and her interests, and then also talks to her about his spirituality and his interest in the law of attraction, which I thought was pretty interesting. But overall, he had really good vibes and was excited to be there. What was really interesting about this date, and I'm sure you will see when you watch, is that she immediately likes Sullivan. She feels attracted to him right away. She tells the camera off screen that she's already in love. And the portion with Danny ends with her telling Sullivan that she is already in love with him and that she thinks he's really hot. He gets super flustered and asks to take a break. And then we end the interview there, or interview. And then they end the episode at that point. So it's a pretty crazy ride, a crazy date. But I have definitely gone through this experience when I was younger. So I was kind of watching with excitement, but also a little bit of concern, because I've definitely been a person who always jumps in super quickly. I don't know if it's that autistic people know what they want, and when they have it, they're like, okay, let's go. But there you have it. That's how Danny's date went. The next person that we meet after Danny is Abigail. She's 23 and she lives with her mother and brother. I really related to Abby. I thought, first of all, another gorgeous girl. Holy cow, like such beautiful women in this episode. But she talks about not feeling human. She's super into Disney princesses, and she likes Ariel because Ariel is unable to speak and get out her thoughts and feelings, and she can really relate to that. She just wants to be a neurotypical person, and I have definitely felt like that before, so I thought it was great that they showed that. What I also loved about Abby is they showed her bedroom and her collections. She had a lot of princess dolls, and they were all lined up perfectly, just like a good autistic does. So I was very into that. It made me feel, it just made me smile, because a lot of us are like that, right? We like things lined up just so, and it's typical for an autistic person not to necessarily play with their toys in the normal way, or the neurotypical way is what I'd say. A lot of times we'll just line them up and position them and put them into kind of our own specific picture of things. Abby has actually had a boyfriend before. She had a boyfriend in high school who she does talk about. She discusses that it was difficult for her to have a boyfriend, in that it's hard for her to have conversations with other people, especially when she's not interested in the topic. And that is 100% how autism is. It's hard to pay attention when you're not interested about what people are talking about, and you normally just want to talk about your interests. So I totally got that. Kind of put us into my favorite part of this episode, and I don't know much about this person, but I was blown away in a good way. They brought in for Abby a dating coach. Her name is Jennifer Cook. They label her as an autism expert, and she's actually on the spectrum. Thank you, Netflix. Thank you. I don't know if Jennifer has other qualifications, what her educational background is, but having another person who's on the spectrum come on screen and give Abby relationship advice was so refreshing. I was so happy that Netflix did this. In so many instances, when you see autistic people in media or entertainment, they're only surrounded by non-autistic people or getting advice from non-autistic people. And it's not that they're getting bad advice, but who can understand you better than somebody who knows exactly what you're going through? So my favorite part of this episode was having Jennifer come in and talk to Abby about what the date was going to be like and give her some coaching and advice. And she did an amazing job. Jennifer never infantilizes Abby. She never treats her like she is less. She is super open about also being on the spectrum herself, and that makes Abby feel, I think, a lot more at ease. She works with Abby on writing down topics to speak about with the person she's going on a date with, and about common interests that they might have. She also talks about making room for other people to speak, which is something I have said before, and I think is a very good way to describe this to an autistic person. I was so impressed with her exercise that she does with Abby, where they roll the balls on the floor. I didn't find this to be demeaning in any way. I thought it was a great way to visualize how Abby was trying to have conversations with people. And that was constantly tossing the balls with the questions and not giving the other person even a chance to speak, because as an autistic person, it can be kind of rapid fire mode when we get excited or want to learn about a person or want to say something. It can be really difficult to pass the ball back and forth and have those conversations. And in just a short period of time, Jennifer was able to relay that concept to Abby in a way that was easy to understand. And, I think Abby just took the information and ran with it. So I was so happy that this was the person that they had. So after this, Abby goes on a blind date with David, who is also on the autism spectrum. They do a great job talking to each other and having a conversation about each other's likes and dislikes. I think that Abby did a wonderful job when there were pauses in the conversation at filling those pauses with new topics of conversation and new questions. They both had similar likes and dislikes, and it seemed like they were both pretty much on the same page. And I'm glad that they went to a place where they could look at animals, which were both a super special interest and passion for both of them. It gave them something to look at and talk about. They went at their own pace. You could tell that they were both nervous, but they did a great job. David brought her a gift, a bracelet that he gave her at the end that had an animal on it. I thought that the date went super well. At the end, he asked if he can shake her hand, which was really nice for me because autistic people, sometimes we have sensory issues around being touched, and sometimes going straight in for a hug or anything like that without asking can be difficult. It just can be overwhelming. And I thought it was really gentlemanly of him to ask her, can I shake your hand? And I thought it was going at the right speed for them as a possibly budding couple. I don't know. The other thing I love about David is that he asks Abby out at the end of their date. You can tell through that he enjoyed spending time with her. And she answers that she'll have to think about it, but she'll let him know. So we'll have to see where that goes. But in general, I was so impressed with Abby. I was so impressed with the coaching that she got. I don't know what the date would have been like had she not gotten the coaching from Jennifer, but she was great with conversation, which is something, you know, when you're on a date, it's a blind date. These are blind dates. You're so nervous, and she was able to work through that, and she did an awesome job, and she looked super cute. She's beautiful. I was so happy that it went well for her. So yeah, that was Abby. Way to go, Abby. You did a great job on your first date. Final person we meet in this episode is James. He is 34. I'm about to turn 34 this weekend, so I can totally relate to him on that level. James states that he has Asperger's and he lives with his family in Massachusetts. First of all, James is a super snappy dresser. He's got some great shirts in his collection, so that was really cool. They immediately open up with him showing his collections. It seems like he has a lot of special interests. He has a collection of stones and rocks, different rocks. Geological collection? Is that what would you say? Geology? Anyway, he has a great collection. He starts showing the specimens that he has and explaining them. He's got a collection of canes. He's got a collection of stamps. And they're all displayed perfectly and beautifully, just like a good autistic collection. We like our stuff how we like it, okay? And what I loved the most about James's collection, I know we're talking about relationships here, but I am exactly the same way. When I have people over to my home, didn't realize I did this until a friend pointed it out, but I will like bring them around, show them my plants, show them my collections, give them specific information that they didn't ask for, and get really excited about it. I am so that way too. So I loved seeing somebody else be that way. It made me feel like I was seen, and it made me feel like it's just a normal thing that autistic people do. We want to share our special interests. We want to show people our collections, and we connect to people through our possessions and our knowledge. And that's some of the way that we relate to people. So I really appreciated that they showed that and that they didn't make it seem weird. They didn't show as much of James in this episode. They did show that he had tried online dating and had dated some in the past, but that had never gotten super serious. He lives with his father, Lawrence, his mother, June, and they describe him as family-oriented. I thought it was super funny that his parents are on him to get a haircut and to just show the best side of himself. And he's really attached to how his hair is. I love that because I get it. When you feel comfortable in a look or how you present yourself as an autistic person, you want to stay in that comfort. It is already difficult to be an autistic person. There's a lot of sensory issues, clothes aren't comfortable, you're already struggling socially on how you're perceived. So he's comfortable with his longer hair and he doesn't care what his parents think about that. And even though they're concerned that girls won't like it, he's saying, well, this is how I like my hair. And I really appreciated that. He talks about his ideal woman, that he wants her to be attractive to him. He wants her to be hygienic, which I thought was funny because that seemed to be a theme. He wanted to find somebody who he could bond with and that enhanced his life, which I just thought was really beautiful. And isn't that what we all want? So, you know, we're humans too. The last that we see of James is that he meets his brother, his younger brother, for dinner. And they discuss his upcoming date. And his brother gives him some dating advice. So the thing that I found interesting about this is that his brother gives him good dating advice. He talks about, you know, making sure to give space in conversations and making sure the information that he gives is, you know, digestible to someone. But what I felt was most interesting is the juxtaposition of how the brother gave advice to James and how Jennifer gave advice to Abby as somebody who's on the spectrum giving advice to another person who's on the spectrum. I felt that the way that she gave the advice was clear, concise. She gave examples, she illustrated it and made it super understandable, whereas James's brother gave good advice, but maybe in a way that was a bit overwhelming, at least for me, to an autistic person. So here's this advice, and do this, and do that, and do this, and you'll be fine. So not really showing how maybe James actually speaks or showing the advice in context, but more just giving good advice. So I preferred Jennifer's mode of giving the advice and giving the coaching because it made a lot more sense to me as an autistic person. So, yes, I enjoyed the episode. I am happy with how Netflix portrayed autistic people. I think that the level of diversity in the episode was great, that autistic people we're all different. So being able to show that we're all different and we all have different wants, desires, struggles that we have. We've all had different relationship experiences. I thought that that was awesome. I didn't feel that they infantilized the participants to any extent that I found offensive. They did do that thing that they did on Australia's Love on the Spectrum where they bring the dates on and they're like, so-and-so likes this and not this. And I figured out that maybe the reason I don't like when they do that is I don't mind getting the information about what a person likes or dislikes. I'm like very uncomfortable with the B-roll that they show. Like, so-and-so doesn't like to be tickled. And they like show somebody, like a B-roll of somebody being tickled. Like, I just don't, freaks me out. It's weird. So I would stay away from that, but that was really the only thing that was like, I don't love that. I felt like they did a great job letting the participants speak for themselves. They did a great job at also interviewing the family members, and I didn't feel that the family members overstepped their boundaries and tried speaking for the participants in this episode. I don't know if that's going to be that way for every episode. I'm really curious to see what's going to happen between Danny and Sullivan after she confesses her love and tells him he's hot and is just so blown away by him. They kind of leave us on a cliffhanger there. Did she scare him off? What's going to happen? So far, pleasantly surprised. I still don't know a lot of things. I don't know if they paid the participants, which I feel like they should, and they didn't do on the Australian version. I don't know what the other episodes are going to be like. What did y'all think? Were you impressed if you watched it? And what do you think the other episodes are going to be like? I'll try to get a video out every day to talk about the series. And, I hope that you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. Bye!